This is Michael Popok, Legal AF. 63-12 of the executive laws is the power the New York Attorney General is using in New York in that civil fraud case, trying as only she can under a giant monopoly board to take all of Donald Trump's money, buildings, houses, and reputation. But there's another part of that statute of the executive law in New York, 63-3. We don't talk a lot about it, but it's in the news now because there's new reporting coming out of the Daily Beast that internally in November of 2020, there were serious discussions by the New York Attorney General, not just to bring a civil fraud case, a persistent fraud case under 63-12, but to go for the jugular and once and for all go after Donald Trump, his children, Ivanka, Eric, and Don Jr., and at least Rudy Giuliani for racketeering, or what we call in New York, enterprise corruption. It's exactly what it sounds like. An enterprise who looks like a legitimate business from the outside, but on the inside is just a criminal enterprise. We call that enterprise corruption. And that, if you now with that lens, that there was serious consideration, even a memo being written by one of the lead investigators within the Attorney General's office, suggesting that there was another way to put together these puzzle pieces. One way to put together the puzzle pieces of business record fraud, insurance fraud, money laundering, and tax fraud was to put it under the rubric of a 63-12 persistent fraud case. That's what we've been watching for the last 5 weeks in New York. That is the standalone persistent fraud claim, which doesn't require intent. You can accidentally commit persistent fraud. It gives the New York Attorney General, since 1956, tremendous powers to shut down once and for all criminal business enterprises under a civil standard, in this case, preponderance of the evidence, meaning she doesn't have to prove her case to Judge Engoron beyond a reasonable doubt like a prosecutor. She gets the lower standard of it just tips the scales ever so slightly in her favor. And that's an advantage, one of the many advantages to the New York Attorney General. But there's another way to read all of the allegations and all of the counts that have been brought. There's 7 total counts in the current, I almost said indictment. It reads like an indictment. That's the thing. It's a petition or a civil complaint that they've been litigating this last year and for the last 5 weeks in trial with all these witnesses. But if you read it through a different lens, if you reassemble the puzzle a different way, you get a different image. And now if you just read it as a criminal indictment, it all becomes clear. Some people would say to me, Popok, sometimes they call me Popok. Popok, I looked at the 6 counts, the 7 in total for these civil fraud claims. Aren't each one of those counts against Donald Trump and the Trump organizations and the Trumpers, aren't they also crimes in the state of New York? You're a New York lawyer. What do you think, Popok? And the answer is yes, they are. They are crimes. That's why we have to bite our tongue when we talk about the civil fraud case because it's so close to being a criminal fraud case. And now we know from the reporting of the Daily Beast how close it actually is and how close it could actually be in the future. Because the way to put the stake through the heart of Donald Trump's organization, to kill the vampire once and for all, is to not only just take all of his money, buildings, and business reputation, like I said, like a monopoly board, but is to put people in jail as a result under enterprise corruption. And the enterprise corruption is not a tremendous leap. It's in fact, you wouldn't even have to do much to the current civil complaint at all to render it into an indictment. You just have to take that evidence that you're using and putting up in front of Judge Engoron and go take it into a grand jury, a criminal grand jury in New York. The testimony and you have all the testimony. Eric Trump's testimony, Don Jr.'s testimony, soon to be Ivanka's testimony, Donald Trump's testimony. You have it all, right? They all waived or are going to waive their Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination. You take all of that in, the testimony of the other Trump insiders, money people, control officers, some of them being convicted felons already, like the chief financial officer for Trump Organization. You bring that in front of a grand jury. You bring the documents and the fraud documents and the tax fraud documents and all of that. And what do you walk out with? The same thing Fani Willis in Fulton County walked out with in Georgia about the election case, an indictment. So why hasn't it happened? Well, there's always a little bit of a tension between, it's like a turf war between agencies and prosecutorial agencies. There just is. I'm dealing with cases right now where there's a turf war. ED&Y, New York Attorney General, Securities and Exchange Commission, U.S. Attorney's Office. I've dealt with many cases in which those groups don't necessarily get along. They got different budgets, they got different agendas, they got different bosses, and each want a piece of the pie. And by pie, I mean your defendant. So now you have all of these competing interests coming to a head in New York between the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, which is the chief prosecutor for Manhattan or New York Borough, and the New York Attorney General, which is the chief legal officer for the entire state. Her ability, though, to go after things criminally is limited by the governor. We're back to what I started this hot take with, 63-3. 63-3 is the way that a person like Letitia James can ask the governor, or the governor can ask her to investigate crime. Otherwise, it's left state by state to each local county prosecutor or district attorney. But there are exceptions. So 63-3, and I'll read it for you, gives the powers of the Attorney General. And the third power, if you will, is upon request of the governor, the comptroller, the Secretary of State, and the Commissioner or Superintendent of Financial Services, the Commissioner of Taxation and Finance, or the State Inspector General, any of those. And we know the State Inspector General here on the MeidasTouch Network. She's a friend of the pod, if you will. We've had her on the show when she was running for the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. If any one of those, not all of those, if any one of those entities, starting with the governor, can request that the Attorney General investigate, quote, the alleged commission of an indictable offense or offenses in violation of the law, which the officer making the request is especially required to execute, or in relation to any matters connected with such department, right? Or prosecute the person or persons believed to have committed the same and any crime or offense arising out of such investigation or prosecution. Let me put it in English. The governor, inspector general, the financial services commissioner can give as a new billet, as a new remit, a mandate to the Attorney General to go after the Trump Organization, the Trump family, as a crime family, as an enterprise, corrupted enterprise, as an enterprise corruption family. That has to come from one of those groups.
I am so thrilled to talk about Legal AF's latest exciting new sponsor, Copilot. Copilot is a personal training app that was listed by Forbes as the top-rated personal trainer app of 2023, and I can see why. I've always wanted my own personal trainer, but I've never been able to find the time in my schedule, whether it's about work or family and all the things going on, to have the time to work with one. I also don't really like going to a gym, but I do know how important exercise is, and I like to exercise and want to incorporate it into my life and my daily routine much more. So if you're a woman like me of a certain age and you know how important it is to maintain healthy bone density and strength training and keep your heart rate up through cardiovascular exercises, that is something that we all have to do. And it's important to find the time and the ability to do that in your life. And Copilot is the thing that has helped me do that. And I'm so excited and thrilled to have someone from the comfort of my own home who I can video chat with. She's my own personal trainer, and she has helped me develop a routine that fits with my lifestyle, incorporates exercises that are things that I like doing, that are easy for me to do, and that are fun for me to do. And she also helps hold me accountable because I know she's going to be seeing and tracking my progress and seeing how I'm doing. And that has really helped me stick with my program. So it's fantastic. It's so much more than just a fitness app. There really is this personal connection connection and these personally tailored exercise routines that are good for your body, your lifestyle, and your goals, your fitness and body goals. So head to go.mycopilot.com/legalaf to get a 14-day free trial with your own personal trainer. That's go.mycopilot.com/legalaf to get a free 14-day trial with your very own personal trainer and take a back seat and let Copilot help you reach your fitness goals.
Now, currently those groups are under the control of Governor Hochul. Governor Hochul took over for Governor Cuomo. One of the reportings of the Daily Beast is that Governor Cuomo put the kibosh on the New York Attorney General going after certain aspects of the Trump organization. I don't have more reporting on that. I don't know why Cuomo was so interested in protecting Donald Trump, but he didn't give the green light to the New York Attorney General despite the memo. Now that memo, which also argued in chilling, prophetic observations. The following quote I took out of the reporting on the memo. This is from the New York Attorney General, one of the investigators, one of the attorneys there. Absence of any prosecutorial action poses a high risk of additional major criminal activity. This is by Trump, and existential threat level attempts to corrupt the federal and state governments. This was written in November of 2020. Think about what a crystal ball this person had in predicting the future. That if you didn't shut down Donald Trump now, one prosecutor with a silver bullet didn't go after Donald Trump to try to take them out of being an enterprise corruption business enterprise and shut them down once and for all and send people to jail as a result, it could pose a, quote, existential threat level attempt to corrupt the federal and state governments if you don't take this person off the street. So why didn't it happen? Because the reporting is the Manhattan DA at the time was transitioning from Cy Vance to now Alvin Bragg. And during that interstitial moment, frankly, neither of them really wanted to pursue this issue. Instead, it kind of broke off and spun off into little sub-investigations. It ultimately culminated in the Stormy Daniels hush money cover-up indictment by the new Manhattan DA and the 17-count felony conviction of the Trump Organization for tax evasion. So it sort of spun off into little sub-cases, like Alan Weisselberg, the CFO, was prosecuted and convicted. Tax evasion. Trump Organization, prosecuted, convicted, tax evasion. Stormy Daniels hush money cover-up, that'll be in March, a likely conviction. And then the New York Attorney General civil fraud case. So this overarching grand indictment that I just described for racketeering, right? For racketeering with two predicate underlying acts and an enterprise objective of corruption, which could have been tried in one box, got divided up into all these other things. And we're seeing the results of them now, right? The civil fraud case is a result of that now. Question for this hot take is, will the Manhattan DA and or the current governor, Democratic Governor Hochul, give the New York Attorney General the license, the permission, the instruction to pursue these crimes and not just the civil side of the matter? Yes, taking away all of his money and buildings for Donald Trump, very important. And that you can do civilly and you can't do it criminally. But criminal restitution, criminal charges, and criminal convictions leading to prison sentences, that's the home run. That's the grand slam home run. So the question is, will the Manhattan DA take it on? We don't have to worry right now about a statute of limitations. All these things should fit neatly within a current statute of limitations. Or will the New York Attorney General, on the backs of hopefully a win here, which we'll know about in early December, in the civil fraud case, then say, you know what I'm going after next? Criminal. Of course, she needs the governor or one of these other offices that has jurisdiction, if you will, over Donald Trump to step in and actually give her the instruction. A lot of states are different. Some people might be thinking, especially from around the world, why can't the Attorney General do it on their own? Isn't that what they do? Not in New York. In New York, The State House gave the New York Attorney General back in 1956 tremendous powers to investigate corruption and fraud under 63-12, but held back the reins on giving them a lot of criminal investigatory powers, leaving it kind of devolved down to the local prosecutors, the district attorneys, to handle the day-to-day criminal investigations and prosecutions. We'll continue to follow, I think, really interesting matters at the intersection of law, politics, and justice. One place, the MeidasTouch Network and Legal AF, the leading podcast of its kind, also only here. You like hot takes like this one? Leave me a thumbs up, leave a comment. It helps with the ratings. And then if you like these, you're going to love what we do on Wednesdays and Saturday nights at 8 p.m. because we do a full-blown podcast, 2 anchors each show. Karen Friedman Agnifilo, former prosecutor in the Manhattan DA's office, and me on Wednesdays. Saturdays, Ben Meiselas, civil rights lawyer, co-founder of the MeidasTouch Network, on Saturdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and in audio platforms wherever you can get them. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting.
Hey Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.